Dear students, this is a video to talk you through the new and adapted version of Beroepsopdracht 4 due to the closure of the schools due to the coronavirus. Because of the coronavirus and the schools closing, we cannot actually execute or teach our lessons for our task-based cycle in our placement schools. So we've come up with the following idea. There you go. Beroepsopdracht 4a. It will still be, that's unchanged, an online presentation that you have to record, which takes 15 minutes and which has to be done in English on C1 level. And I'll talk you through the content in the next few slides. Due to time reasons, I have not translated everything in this PowerPoint because I've taken it out of the module guide, which is in Dutch. So bear with me, you can do this. There we go. So Beroepsopdracht 4a, the adapted version, the first 3 parts of it are the same as the original version. The 4th part is different. So the first part, you need to give us a justification of the choices of the lesson material that you have used for your task cycle. This you will have done on the basis of analysis, lesson material analysis, and you need to illustrate this with some examples of the lesson material that you've used, changed, tweaked, etc. Then you will present to us your theoretical choices, a theoretical justification of the design of the lesson series or task cycle. How is it appropriate for your particular target audience, for your students? Why have you chosen these particular aims and outcomes or work forms, and how have you tried to incorporate ICT? More lessons on how to incorporate ICT will follow online. The third part is a short description of the lessons, of the task cycle. So here you will clearly present to us the lesson aims, outcomes, activities, and especially how you have tried to create constructive alignment. Everything on constructive alignment can be found on Brightspace as well in the form of 3 videos. And then the 4th part is new. Instead of teaching the task cycle or your several lessons or lesson series in your placement schools, you will actually present or micro-teach, this is up to you, your design to 2 of your fellow students. These are fellow students of choice. You can pick them yourselves. And this has to be done digitally, obviously, because of social distancing. And so you'll do this through Skype, WhatsApp, the medium of choice. These 2 fellow students, you will ask for written peer feedback with the use of a feedback form that you can find in the module guide in the appendix. After you have done this, you still have some time to change and amend and improve your task cycle design with the help of this peer feedback of your fellow students, and you will write a report. I'm saying write a report so that it is very clear for you what you have learned from this particular process of designing the lesson series, of receiving feedback, of redesigning the lesson series. But in the end, this will obviously be a presentation. So the report is presented. It is told to me through this particular medium. So 4 parts that need to be part of your presentation. Then, next to this presentation that you're going to hand in, you hand in 3 appendices. The first one are the lesson plans, the written out detailed lesson plans in which you clearly make sure that the task cycle is visible, that you clearly reference to the used lesson material, the amended or changed or analyzed or tweaked lesson material, that is. And in the why column of your lesson plan, you need to tell us why you have made certain choices or why you're doing this or that particular work form. And we would like you to refer to literature there. to support your choices. The second appendix is are the 2 filled in peer feedback forms. It says werkbegeleider, I'm sorry, on the screen. I can see that now. In your module guide, this will be changed. It's peer feedback from your fellow students, so please leave your placement coach alone. They're busy enough at this moment. And the third appendix is a copy of the original lesson material. This can be a scan or a screenshot if it's online material. Anyway, the lesson material that you have used to design your task cycle. So these 3 things have to be handed in Brightspace on the particular deadline. So how do I go about this? Well, I'll tell you in a few simple steps how you get to this particular product. The first step is the analysis of your lesson material with the help of 2 help documents. These can be found in the module guide and are unchanged, so it's the same as it was presented to you at the beginning of this semester. Hopefully you've actually done this already. After that, step 2, you need to study, and there will be a lot of self-study that you have to do in the next few weeks, the relevant theory about the design of the task cycle. So this will be mostly Willis and Willis. Please stick to the weekly schedule and the reading material in each week. We are just going to expect you to have read the articles that we present to you. You need this to do step 3, because here you need to design the task cycle. You need to clearly make use of task-based learning, the book by Willis and Willis. This is a minimum of 1 lesson, but could result into 3 lessons. You have to really think about your placement school still, even if you're not there. You were there for a full semester at least, so you know what a lesson entails by now. Are these 50 minutes lessons? Are these full morning leerplein gatherings? Still consider the context of your placement school when you design your task cycle. So it's a minimum of 1 lesson, but if you feel I need 1, 2, 3, 4 lessons, up to you. Make sure they are aligned. That's important. And you're going to attempt to use some ICT. More information will follow on this in the next few lessons. Sorry about that. This is the task cycle. So a suggestion could be that you either create 3 lessons like this. You do the pre-task in 1 lesson, and the task cycle in the second, and the language focus in the third. It could be very different. It's up to you. This has been discussed with you by your teacher. I'm sorry. Step 4 is you will meet with 2 of your fellow students through a digital medium. So this could be Skype or WhatsApp or whatever you like. You need to see each other. You need to hear each other, because in this particular meeting, you're going to present in detail your design of your lesson series. You could also choose to do a micro teaching. So do the whole thing in front of them. Say, okay, this is my activity, this is my instruction, etc. This will get you a lot more feedback, and very rich feedback, hopefully. Your fellow students give you written feedback with the help of a peer feedback form, which is in the module guide. This feedback for step 5, you're going to use and critically read to write a report. And this is all about the learning outcomes for yourself, the leerinzichten. What have I learned from designing this particular task cycle or my lesson series? How have I used my peer feedback or not from my fellow students, and why? And how does this fit my view of teaching? Is this task-based teaching something that I would like to do? Is this part of what I believe language learning is about? This needs to be about you and teaching, or at least designing a task cycle for the first time. If possible, you could try to teach some of your lesson series digitally to maybe some students in your placement school. However, this is in the only case that you can do this is if your school requests you to do this. We need to really make sure that in these difficult times we give time and room to our placement schools. So it is perfectly possible to still get a sufficient mark for BO4A without you actually teaching these lessons. But it would get you a lot more feedback if you could get some feedback from experts in the field. But again, make sure you don't bother anyone with that. And then step 6 is you need to really, it's super easy, I'm doing it right now, but you need to use Screencast-O-Matic, or if you have another screen recording device, you can use that as well. And you're going to present, as I do now, your 4 parts of your Beroepsopdracht 4a. It needs to take 15 minutes, it needs to be in English at C1 level, and it needs to be handed in on Brightspace all together with the appendices before the 10th of April, 5 o'clock. I can imagine that by the end of now you might have some questions. So 4 questions that popped up in my mind are the following. Well, the question could be, I've taught my lesson before the closure of the schools, what do I do? Well, if you were able to teach the full task cycle before, you could still stick with the old assignment and hand that in. If you only taught one of the lessons or part of the task cycle in your placement school before the closure, what do you do then? Well, then you go to this particular adapted version and use any insights that you may have gained from teaching that part of the task cycle as possible feedback to feed your insights, your leerinzichten report. Another question that you may have is, I did not get any teaching material from my school, and they are not available at this moment to provide this to me now. I'm sorry for the spelling mistake, I can see that. But which material do I use? Well, in this case, you select possibly online teaching material that you will still have to analyze, amend, tweak to fit your learning aims. But you will still use the adapted version, this particular version that I just presented, to do your assignment. Another question could be that the school is not too busy to talk to you and they have asked you to teach any of your lessons online to your students. What do I do? Well, that's great. This is a wonderful experience then, and you could still use that to do the original version. Hopefully this has taken away some of the questions. Maybe you've raised a few extra questions. Luckily, we have live sessions with all of your teachers on the times that you are scheduled for your classes through virtual classroom. So please ask your specific teachers your questions as well. Quick look into the future is block 4. We obviously hope that we'll be back and meeting live in block 4, but we can't really assume that we are. So just to make sure that Beroepsopdracht 4b remains as it is, unchanged. So nothing has been adapted. The only thing is that it might be good to possibly find or already think about the testing and the student material that you might need for this. Can you still get your hands on this? Is this something that you can still ask your placement coach in a while? But more to come about this. And the PPO assignment is something that we'll get more information on later on. Thank you all very much.